Yo, 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 what's up out there, everybody? This is Eric T, the Sensei. I'm here by myself, having a little, nighttime, a little time alone, figured I'd do a little podcast by myself and see how it goes. If it sucks, then, I won't do it no more. If it's good, I'll continue to do it, But, I figured I'd try something, for one time and one time only, but if people like it, maybe I come back and do it again, So y'all let me know if y'all like it or not. But we're gonna talk about a few things. But I'm gonna talk about a few things by myself, because I don't have anybody here. My cousin, I think he's in a bed, sleep, and I got another phone right now, and everybody don't have that phone, so I just can't be calling people on the phone that I do have. I don't want that number. I don't want that number being handed out to everybody. I got two phones, and one of the phones is strictly for, people who may need me, So if you got this number to my second phone, you may need me, I consider you a person. I consider you a dependent, I got my uncle on there because he may need me, I got my cousin on there because he may need me, They might call and say, hey, nephew, or hey, cuz, I need you. I need you to get me out of jail, or whatever it may be, So, only a select few got this number. But let's talk about a few things. I'm here by myself, of course, and let's see if we can have some fun with it. Let's see if y'all like it. If y'all like it, let me know. Please let me know. If y'all don't, just say, hey, man, don't ever do that shit again. Like, don't ever do that again, right? You suck. You trash, right? I see Bubba Dub, he does it all the time, and he kills it by himself. I think that's a talent for a person to have a podcast and they entertain people by themselves. I'm here by myself, but I can't guarantee it be entertaining. But let's talk about a few things. The one thing I want to talk about, the first thing I want to talk about is, the beef with 50 Cent and T.I. I think it's been an interesting couple weeks between the two. 50 Cent versus T.I. T.I. challenged 50 Cent to a versus a few years ago. He challenged him to a versus like 5-6 years ago. And I thought it would have probably been a kind of a fair versus. But, I kind of thought that T.I. would have been a better fit to go against Jeezy. I think T.I. versus Jeezy would have been a good versus. I think T.I. versus 2 Chainz would have been a good versus. But he challenged 50 Cent, and he challenged 50 Cent because of, Jeezy and Gucci, they did their verses. They, once Jeezy and Gucci had their verses, that was like, okay, all right, I'll find somebody else. And, I guess it made sense for T.I. to say, 50 Cent, we was out around the same time. He got some good records. He's a solidified face in hip hop. Let's go against him, right? And I thought, okay, let's try it out, right? But initially, I thought that T.I. would have beat 50 Cent, right? That's just my opinion. I thought that T.I. would have beat 50 Cent. And, not T.I., but 50 Cent is one of my favorite rappers of all time. I got, 50 is he's him. I love 50. I love what he does for music. I love what he does for movies and TV shows and stuff like that. I think that 50 is that guy. But, I grew up listening to T.I. T.I. was that guy. T.I. got a lot of good music. He got a lot of good albums, a lot of good singles, So I'm like, okay, I think this would be a good, easy win for T.I. in a sense, right? But then I started listening. I said, I don't know. 50 got some shit, man. 50 got some shit, man. We can start with Get Rich or Die Trying. He can damn near play 8 songs off of that. 8 songs alone off of that, and he'll be alright. You know, like he played Mini Man. What Tip got for that? He played What Up Gangsta. What Tip got for that? He played in the club. What Tip got for that? You know, and then you start moving on to the Massacre. He had big hits off the Massacre too, right? And you know, my personal opinion, I thought that the Massacre was probably a little bit better of an album than Get Rich or Die Trying, but I think that Get Rich or Die Trying, the energy was just much better. Like the energy and the anticipation behind Get Rich or Die Trying was just phenomenal. Like it's unmatched. Like that was like one in a lifetime. Like we can never duplicate that energy that was around the album Get Rich or Die Trying, right? But you know, I think that a lot of people, they kind of lamed out on Massacre. They didn't like it as much because I don't think the energy was there. But the album was good. He had a lot of good songs on the album that I thought were great. And I think that the album probably aged a little bit better than Get Rich or Die Trying. So I'm like, okay, you know, he played a few songs off of that. And then, you know, he got the Curtis album, you know, and he could play I Get Money I Got. I'm like, shit. I don't know what Tip got for that, right? I don't know. Right? And yeah, 50 got a lot of good music, you know, and a lot of good singles and a lot of good features and stuff like that, and the energy is there, right? But I also look at Tip like, man, Tip got some stuff, man. Rubber Band Man, The Dope Boys in the Trap, you know, just timeless music that Tip got, man. Tip got, if you ask me, Tip has one of the best discographies in hip hop. So it's hard to say that Tip gonna lose, but I think that 50 has an aura about him that Tip doesn't have, and I think that aura kind of, you know, gives 50 Cent the edge, right? And you know, sometimes, you know, with this versus things, it's not all about music. It's about that aura. It's about, you know, you getting on that stage and what are people looking at? How is the energy behind these songs that they're playing, right? And I'm thinking like, hey, 50 Cent can win based on the aura, based on the energy. You know, I don't think that Tip can match that, but I think Tip has great music, right? But nonetheless, right, I guess 50 got fed up, right? And he posted some pictures of Tiny. He posted a few pictures of Tiny. He didn't say much. He just posted pictures. Might have said a little something in the caption. I can't remember. It was just something slight. You know what I'm saying? Not even like it wasn't like an overhand right. It was just a little jab, you know. And next thing you know, boom. Everything exploded from there, you know. Now we got, you know, Tip, he making music already, but he took time to put time aside to start dissing 50 Cent. You know, he made a diss that I thought was okay. I give it a 7. It's not something that I kept going back and replaying, but I gave it a 7. But then we get King and Damani involved, right? And a lot of people are saying like Damani and King are like Huey and Riley off Boondocks, which is funny, right? But it's kind of like a good comparison. Like King is Riley and Damani is Huey, because you know, you look at Damani's approach. Damani was more conscious about what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? More thoughtful, put more thought into what he was saying. Like, yeah, I'm gonna diss you, but I'm gonna ask your mother some questions, which was disrespectful in a sense. But you know, he's trying to get some understanding as to why do you do the things you do, right? And then you got King. King's like, nah, man, you talk about my mama, I'm talking about your mama, you know. And he said some disrespectful things. He said some things that were, to me, out of pocket. I think the things that he said were out of pocket. You know, dissing his mom that's not here, right? But I think that 50 Cent kind of like, you know, dug a hole for himself as well. Like 50 has been bullying people time after time, and people have just, gotten fed up with the nonsense, right? I don't think that 50 said anything that was disrespectful. He posted some pictures of Tiny that wasn't the best pictures, right? But I think that, hey man, why you posting pictures of my mom that, we don't look at as being, good pictures? You know what I'm saying? Why are you poking jabs at my mom, and my pops, he asked you to do a verses. That's all he wanted to do was a verses. That was it. And I seen that, Tip was on a podcast with Wallow and Gilly. And, Tip pretty much said that verses shit is out the window. He said he don't want to do nothing with him, because now he looking at his character different. But that's been 50's character for a long time, though, right? 50 has been doing a lot of bully stuff, a lot of antagonizing, a lot of things that we really don't consider cool, right? And I kind of feel like 50 has done this for so long, but I don't think 50 necessarily needs to do the things that he do. I don't think it's necessary. I think that 50 would be more powerful if he united with other rappers and other artists a little bit more. I think that people have this admiration for 50 Cent, right? And people want to work with him. People want to collab with him and do things with him. But 50, he's just different, right? He's hard to deal with, hard to like, and I think a lot of that is due to his upbringing. The fact that, he lost his mom at an early age. He probably didn't get a lot of love growing up, and here he is now, 50 years old. And, he lost his relationship with his son. He lost his relationship with his first son's mother. He lost the relationship with his youngest son's mother. I don't know what the relationship is with his younger son now, but I don't think 50 really cares about relationships like that anymore. I think that he probably got he look at Yayo as a friend, but I don't think that aside from Yayo, I don't think 50 has any real friends. I don't think 50 has anybody he can call when, things are getting rough for him, or when he needs to, relieve some stress. And that's a dark space to be in. That's a real dark space to be in as a man. But nonetheless, I hate it. I hate how things, turned out, because like I say, 50 Cent and T.I. are both one of my favorite rappers of all time. And I would love to see them get on the stage and do a verses. But now I think it's over with, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that this is what happened, but we move forward. All right. So enough of the 50 Cent and T.I. drama. Let's talk about one of the hot things that's been all on social media lately. One of the things that we care about so much, and that is the Walter Johnson. I think his name is Walter Johnson. The Destination Smokehouse. Tendernism. Mr. Tendernism himself. Let's talk about it. I think this is one of America's greatest scandals. One of America's greatest scandals. And when you think about it, we got all this controversy, all this chaos over barbecue, all this division, all this nonsense. It's all built around barbecue, right? Walter Johnson, or Mr. Tendernism himself. He's unemployed. He's unemployed now, right? The owner of Destination Smokehouse has fired him, is what I've been told. I don't know what happened, but the streets is saying that Unc got fired. Mr. Tendernism got fired. They took the recipe They took the Tendernism and kicked him out the door. Said that's enough. I think that when I first started seeing Unc on the internet, I was like, man, that old guy's cool, man. Like, man, he making that meat fall off the bone like that, boy. My barbecue don't never look like that. He must be a scientist when it comes to them oxtails and them ribs. Like he must got it down to a science, And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to go check him out. I thought he might have been like in the South somewhere when I first seen him. I'm thinking like, yeah, this a brother from Memphis right here. He got to be in Nashville. Yeah, he got to be down there in Mississippi or something. You know what I'm saying? He down there in Texas. Then I found out he was in California. I said, oh, California, okay. I didn't know too many brothers out there can get down on the grill. I never thought that brothers from California knew anything about that barbecue, right? But this is one in millions. He knows something about that barbecue. He know about that barbecue, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to check him out, but I don't know when I'm gonna check him out because I just don't go to Cali too often. Now, if he in Mississippi, if he in Tennessee, down there in Georgia somewhere, I'm gonna go check him out real soon. But California, that's a stretch now. That's a stretch. So then, rumors started being, the truth started coming out a little bit. They saying, hey, y'all know he don't own that restaurant. Nah. What you mean he don't own the restaurant? That's Mr. Tendernism. I thought that he owned the restaurant. Now he looked like he owned the restaurant, but I could be wrong. So I seen another brother saying, hey, I could tell that wasn't a black owned establishment by the plates. And I said, damn, he got a good point because those plates sure don't look like no black plates. Them don't look like no black owned plates right there. Them look like some who plates. Them that gotta be. That gotta be our fellow, fellow other people, that them ain't no black plates, So more and more stuff started coming out, as far as him not being the owner. So I'm like, okay, well, he's not the owner. Maybe he's like a partner in the business, or he got a good deal with the owner. Maybe he's being made whole. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe he's being made whole, and the arrangement is not bad, so hey, I don't have an issue with him not being the owner, right? I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's doing his thing, and if he's happy with the situation that he's in, who am I to knock it, right? Now, would I prefer him to have his own spot? Of course, I would prefer him to have his own spot. But if he don't have his own spot, that don't mean I'm not gonna come support this brother, and what he's doing, because hey, the food look good to me, right? So more and more goes on. They saying he's not the owner, so on and so forth, and everybody, the social media is all up in the uproar. Nah, you got to get your own spot. You got to get from underneath their thumb. You can't be working for him. You got to get your own. You got to get your own. So Unc like, nah, it's cool over here, man. Don't come over here bothering us, man. Like, hey, we got a sweet deal made up. Me and him, we good, right? And even old boy was like, yeah, man, he's a business partner, man. He's a business partner. So I'm like, if he's a business partner, hey, maybe everything's good, whatever, right? So then, more and more time goes on, and celebrities start visiting the restaurant. You got celebrities from all over the place coming to see Mr. Tendernism. Then next thing you know, you see the owner comes out. The owner don't like that attention. Nah, that owner don't like that attention that Unc getting. He had to get some of that spotlight. He had to get some of it. He couldn't just let Unc take all the spotlight, right? He had to get some of that attention. Now, me, if I'm him, I'm gonna let Unc get that attention because the money coming in, right? I'm just gonna sit back and collect dollars, right? And I'm gonna set him up with a better arrangement. You know what I'm saying? Make him whole, so he can, be happy where he's at, and he don't have no initiative to leave. I'm gonna set him up straight. Like, hey, Unc, hey, I got you a sweet deal. I'm gonna give you 15-20% of the business. We're gonna make you whole. You know what I'm saying? This you a partner now, right? Now my cousin said he would have gave him 5%, right? which I think 5%, that ain't enough. That ain't enough, right? I'm gonna give them 15-20% because Destination Smokehouse was on the way out. You know, they was serving coffee at one point. Next thing you know, they were selling gumbo and oxtails and whatnot. You know, so every dollar that was coming through that barbecue joint was pretty much due to Unc. You know, he became the brand of the barbecue. You know what I'm saying? He became the reason why people came there, right? If they made $1 million in a month, I think $1 million was made because of Unc, right? I don't think they make a single dollar at that establishment if Unc wasn't there. I don't think they make a single dollar at that establishment if Unc was not there, right? So anyway, you got all these celebrities coming. They checking out the barbecue. They like it. Everybody like it. You got some people saying it was mid or whatever. But I'm like, okay, you know how people be talking. People be, people quick to, hate on it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that's cool, right? But all the celebrities, Desi, them, they all said they liked it, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. So Keith Lee comes about. Oh, Keith Lee came about. And it's like Keith Lee was there for a reason, right? I think if Keith Lee didn't show up, none of this stuff would be happening at this point, right? Keith Lee shows up, gets some food. He say that some of the food is good, some of the food is okay. He didn't say none of the food was bad. He said some of the food was good, some of the food was okay. I think he said the oxtails was the best thing. Them black diamonds. Like Unc say, them black diamonds. So he wanted to leave a $4,000 tip, right? He said, I'm gonna leave him a $4,000 tip. Oh no. The owner didn't like that now. You gonna leave him $4,000? Oh no, we can't do that, right? So, they saying, hey, I want to talk to Unc. You know what I'm saying? Bring him out. No, Unc's busy. He's busy. He back there doing a podcast. And even Keith Lee said, hey man, I understand, schedules and stuff like that. And, maybe he might have been busy. And he said, hey man, is there a way that I can leave him a tip? And, people was in the security or whoever was like, nah, this and that, so on and so forth. And I guess that they wanted all tips supposed to go through the whole staff or something like that. Something crazy, right? So that's the part I didn't know. So I was defending the situation. I ain't gonna say I was defending the situation, but I was understanding the situation, right? Hey, you popped up on the whim, right? Like, hey, Unc might have been back there doing a podcast, right? I assume that he was, but you know what I'm saying? If it's a $4,000 tip, you know what I'm saying? There got to be a way to leave it to him, right? So anyway, Keith Lee leaves, and he tells social media, "Hey man, I was at the spot, and I wanted to leave him $4,000, and they wouldn't let me leave it to him." Oh, that was the end right there. Social media went up in an uproar. See, Unc getting played. We told you he was getting played. We told you, right? And I'm like, damn man, this don't look good. And I'm a person that I look at the whole situation, right? I'm not a person that looks at something and say that's what it is, right? I'm a all things considered type person, right? I'm gonna consider every little thing in a situation, right? Because I'm looking at Unc like 280 years old, right? Unc is 283 years old, right? So I'm like, man, this brother didn't learn how to make barbecue yesterday, right? He didn't learn how to make barbecue yesterday. Like, he was the first person to ever cook barbecue, I believe. I think Walt is the first person. I think Walt invented barbecue. Walt is that old. He's the first person to put a barbecue grill together and put pig on top of that barbecue grill. I know he is. Unc is old as Moses, right? So I'm like, hey, this dude being 333 years old, why does he not have his own barbecue spot, right? I'm just asking the question, right? Like, I want to know, why is he 417 years old and he doesn't have his own establishment, right? Not even a food truck. He ain't selling plates out the house or nothing. Like, he just relying on this guy. So I said, hey man, we don't know what's going on with this situation, right? Like, I'm not saying that he is, but I'm saying, hey man, Hey, we sure that Unc ain't messed up the money before? Are we sure that Unc ain't like got a little drinking problem or something? You know what I'm saying? We sure that, this man hasn't lifted this man out the gutters and now he's cleaned up himself and he's become something, right? I'm hoping that that's not the case, but I'm thinking like, hey man, this guy is 503 years old. If he wanted his own establishment, why does he not have his own establishment, right? So I'm saying, hey, we probably shouldn't be getting in their business, right? Because he might have pulled this man up. This man is 617 years old, right? So maybe this is the best situation for him, right? But I also understand that Unc has become the brand and he doesn't need this guy anymore. He's the brand, right? He is the reason why people are coming to try the barbecue. So I'm like, okay, we don't know what's going on, right? But things started getting a little flaky, you know what I'm saying? We started seeing Uncle a little less, and when we did see them together, they was like trying to patch up their relationship a little bit. Like, hey man, everything's good over here, man. Everything's good. Next thing you know, I didn't see Unc at all for a while, and I'm hearing that he got fired, and then, he did get fired, I guess, is what I'm assuming, but I don't know, right? I guess he got fired, right? So, but what I do know is he's not with that establishment anymore, right? And I feel like, he should have been made whole, you know what I'm saying? He should have been given a percentage of the business. But I don't think he was given a percentage of the business. And I think that was only fair for him to have a percentage of that business. So anyway, he's on his own now. And I seen him the other day. He was cooking for Ron Isley. Cooking for Ron Isley himself. Right? Big party. Unc is there. Unc showing out. You know what I'm saying? Got the meat falling off the bone still. All the way in Georgia. Got the meat falling off the bone. Talking about, hey, I take this on the road. What Hov said? Say they don't know me internationally. It's on the road, did. You know what I'm saying? Unc, like, they know me on the road, boy. So I think Destination Smokehouse is going to be no more pretty much, right? They said it's Destination Empty House, right? They say it's open seats everywhere. They say people ain't supporting the business, right? So I'm pretty sure that business is going to go under. I know it's going to go under. It's not going to last long. It's going to go under, right? So anyway, I also seen Unc on Nightcap. He talking with Shannon Sharp and he talking with Ocho Cinco. They happy to have him because he's a big personality, right? A person that's a big personality like that, they really don't need anybody else, right? If I got the recipe for the meals, you know what I'm saying? He been cooking ribs and stuff for 713 years. You know what I'm saying? He know how to cook some barbecue, right? So if he been cooking barbecue this long and he got a personality behind it and people love him, he's gonna be okay, and he got a GoFundMe. Everybody go check that out. Check it out. See if you want to donate to it. I feel like if you have admired his videos or whatever, you can send him a couple $, man. It ain't got to be much. I sent him $15. I sent him $15. That was it, right? I know he gonna be a millionaire within a month, but I sent him $15 because the stuff he was doing on the internet made my day. So I think I can give him $15, right? Hey, give him $2, give him $3, $4, whatever it may be. I think that all that stuff goes a long way. So help Unc out, help Unc move forward. We want to see that brother do good. Because the thing is, right, a lot of guys were saying, hey, he need to be on his own. He need to get his own stuff. He need to do this and do that, right? All right. Now he's on his own. Now what, right? We're going to turn our back on him because we don't like the way he moved. We don't like the way he's he got fired or whatever it may be. We don't like the way he, stepped away from, Destination Smokehouse. We don't like his departure, right? But, oh well, right? He didn't move when we wanted him to move, but hey, he's on his own now, and I feel like we would be doing a disservice to him and our community by saying, turn our back on him now. Don't turn your back on him now. Keep supporting that brother. Keep on supporting that brother. So enough of that. Let's move forward. Let's move forward to something else. All right, let's talk about the Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney rematch for a quick second. we won't spend a lot of time on that. We're going to talk about it just for a quick second. That's it, right? So, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, they're negotiating a rematch. They want to have one rematch, right? And I think it's necessary. I think that, I think it is necessary. Even though I think that, Devin Haney got an ass whooping, right? And that ass whooping could have been avoided had he kept that hand up, right? And one of Devin Haney's biggest issues for me has always been that Devin Haney kind of fades in the later rounds, right? Anytime Devin Haney starts off good, anytime Devin Haney fights, he starts off very good. But it's those later rounds he just start to, tail off a little bit. And I kind of think that's what happened with him and Ryan Garcia, that, he started off damn good. It looked like it was going to be a easy night for Devin Haney. Well, he got caught in the first round, but that was like one punch, but he started off damn good, man. And, he started getting caught in the later rounds, and he never really recovered, right? So in that fight, Ryan Garcia, he shows up, he's 3 pounds overweight, juiced up on the steroids, been drinking tequila all night and partying with strippers and all this crazy stuff, right? And, he ended up showing up and doing the unthinkable, if you ask me, because I didn't think he was going to win the fight. I thought it was like, yeah, this is going to be an easy night, man. I don't think this boy been training. I think this is going to be an easy fight for Devin Haney. This boy ain't been training for real. So he shows up 3 pounds overweight, and he shows up on steroids. And he beat the hell out of Devin Haney. Beat the hell out of him, man. Beat the hell out of Devin Haney, man. I ain't seen too many whoopings like that, boy. Boy, Devin Haney kept getting caught with the same left hook over and over and over and over and over again. Even boxing people out there saying, all the boxers saying, hey, yeah, regardless if he was on steroids or not, he still shouldn't have been getting caught with that same left hand, right? So Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, they've been going back and forth for the last year and a half or whatever it may be. They want to run it back, and I want to see it. And I think that Devin Haney will win. I think that he will win, right? But I think that he got to do it in a fashion that's unseen from him. I think he got to knock him down. The same whooping that Ryan Garcia put on him, he got to put it on him now. He got to beat the hell out of that boy. You know what I'm saying? This the get back, right? He got to go in there and show out. And I'm not sure if Devin Haney going to do all that. I think he'll go in there and outbox him, but I don't think that he goes in there and just beat the hell out of Ryan Garcia, right? But they're going back and forth, and Ryan Garcia is saying he's the A side, right? So I'm the A side, right? And I think that I don't think that's true. I think that Ryan Garcia, I think that Devin Haney is the A side, right? I think Devin Haney should be the A side. I think he should be the more paid fighter in this event. And the reason why I say that is, even though Ryan Garcia won, but they took the O off, right? They took the O off because the boy got popped for steroids. Regardless of what Ryan Garcia says, they popped him for steroids, and they took the O off. They took the loss off his record. They gave him his O back, right? So there had to have been some type of foul play, so right? But I don't feel like you can be the A side when you showed up 3 pounds overweight and then you got popped for steroids, right? Why would we reward you with the A side when you cheated? You cheated boxing, right? You cheated the people, right? You showed up 3 pounds overweight. And that don't seem like a lot of weight, but the obligation is the obligation, right? If you're supposed to show up at a certain weight, you got to make that weight. You can't show up 3 pounds overweight and oh, it's good, everything's good. No, everything's not good. You're cheating, right? The work that Devin Haney put in to make that weight, you didn't put that weight in. You said, okay, I'm cool with this weight right here, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And Devin Haney might have been drained a little bit, but you didn't put your body through the things that he put his body through. And then you pumped up on the juice. They say you pumped up on the juice. I'm not saying you are, but that's what they're saying. They're saying you was pumped up on the juice, right? Those things matter. So you can't be the A side, Ryan Garcia. You gotta take the minimum. Yeah, you gotta take the minimum. You gotta run it back and be clean and show us that, hey, I can make weight, I don't need the juice, and I can still beat this boy. Because you got your ass whooped against Rolly. Rolly put a whooping on you, right? When Rolly knocked Ryan Garcia down, it looked like the boy exploded. The boy flew back 20 feet. He flew back 20 feet. Rolly hit the boy so hard I thought the boy blew up, right? And if you are the fighter that you say you are, I don't think you're supposed to take that L to Rolly. But one thing I will say is this. Rolly is not a tough out. He's not a tough out. But they're also saying that Devin Haney and Rolly is going to fight. And if you ask me, my opinion, I kind of think that Rolly wins that fight. I kind of believe that Rolly wins that fight. If Devin Haney wins the fight, I think that it's probably a boring fight in a sense, right? But I don't think Devin Haney can get a boring win over Rolly. I don't think so. I think that Rolly is going to pressure Devin Haney harder than he's ever been pressured, right? And I think in order to beat Rolly, you got to have some type of power. You can't just beat him with just outboxing him, right? When he fought Pitbull Cruz is a hard hitter. The boy got a head on him. That boy hit hard too. And you know that was a tough fight for Rolly. And Rolly got his ass whooped. Rolly got his ass whooped now. But Pitbull, that's a tough fellow right there. He hit hard. And he beat the hell out of Rolly. And when Gervonta Davis beat him, when Gervonta Davis beat Rolly, he hit him with power. Hit him with a shot that he didn't see coming. And it put him down. Oh, it put him down. I think that Rolly was probably up on the scorecards when he got whooped too. But I think he was up on the scorecards. So I don't think Devin Haney has what it takes to beat Rolly if Rolly pressures him for X amount of rounds, right? Because I just don't think that the power is there. I don't think that he has the power. Even though Devin Haney's power has translated a little bit better to 147 than it was at 135 and 140, right? I think he is a little bit more powerful. He put hands on Brian Norman. Right? He knocked him down. But Devin Haney ain't knocked nobody out in like 7-8 years, right? So I don't think he got what it takes to knock out Rolly Romero. But we'll see, right? And I think that for me, the fight I would rather see is, you know what? I really don't care. Actually, I don't care if I see Rolly versus Devin. I don't care if I see Ryan versus Devin. But I think that both of those are solid fights. And speaking of boxing, while we're on the boxing conversation, Floyd Mayweather is coming back. Yeah, they say Floyd coming back. They said Floyd ain't got $1 to his name. They say Floyd ain't got $1 to his name. That's what they told me. They say he ain't got a single dollar. They said the boy doing bad, man. They say he doing bad. He took money off his name on Instagram is what they told me. I don't know how true it is. They say it used to be Floyd Money Mayweather. Now it's just Floyd Mayweather. Right? I don't know how true that is. But that's what they told me. Speculation. Right? So, Floyd coming back. Floyd got 3 fights lined up. Boy fighting Mike Tyson. It's an exhibition. It's just a little exhibition. Something fun for the people. But shit, I don't know. Mike Tyson, he took that L against Jake Paul, right? I think it was rigged a little bit. It seemed like it might have been rigged. I don't know if it was or wasn't, but things didn't look right? But I tell you what, I don't know if I don't think that Mike Tyson gonna hold back, and he ain't gonna be getting in that ring just to be getting no whoopings every time somebody needs some money or for some entertainment. So I think Floyd better watch out, because Roy Jones said, man, that man hit hard. Roy Jones said, hey, this is supposed to be an exhibition. Don't hit me like that now. So, if Floyd ain't that big of a man, so I still think Mike Tyson can hit him with a blow that might set him down, right? And he got to fight like 2 months after that with some guy. I don't know who this guy is, right? But I tell you like this, if Mike Tyson hit that man, he ain't gonna be making that next fight. I'll tell you that right now. So he got 3 fights lined up with some I don't know if he's a bare knuckle champ or whatever, but he's fighting him after that. And then he got the fight with Manny Pacquiao. I really don't care to see that. I really don't care to see him versus Manny Pacquiao. The anticipation is not there for me, right? The anticipation it's just not there for me, right? But I kind of think we could be in for a surprise, right? Because Manny hasn't stepped away from boxing. Manny's still active. He beat Mario Barrios. They ruled it a draw, but I say he won, right? Anytime you 87 years old and you fighting a 20-something-year-old guy and they rule it a draw, I say the 87-year-old won, right? So I think that, Manning's been active. And Manny been wanting that get back for 10 years. He been wanting that get back for 10 years. So ain't no telling what Manny might do when they get in that ring. Manny might win this fight. And if I had to bet, I'm still going to bet on Floyd. I'm still going to bet on Floyd because Floyd just going to figure something out, right? But I think that if Floyd is struggling financially, he got to make a big fight. I think these 3 fights, it might break him even, right? He might be able to break even with his debt. Might get him out of a little debt. Might be able to, buy a Rolls Royce with it, but that's about it. Everything else is probably going to get paid to debt, right? But then, if you really want to make a big fight, I think a big fight for Floyd would be like fighting Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney. I think that Devin Haney would make sense because, I think that there's been some animosity between those two for the last few years, especially with him and Bill. I think that would be a, pretty fair build up. But I think that Ryan Garcia is a big draw. I think he's a big draw. I think if they can figure out a way to, have some type of feud or whatever it may be, I think it's a big fight for him. And I think that both of those gentlemen that I just named, Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, even with Floyd being 97 years old, I don't think neither one of them guys beats Floyd Mayweather. I don't see it, right? I just don't see it. But I hope that Floyd, if he truly is struggling financially, I hope that he get himself together. I hope that he stop buying stuff. I hope that he stop tricking off his money. I hope that he start doing the right things with his money. Because a lot of people saying, "Oh, Floyd Mayweather ain't broke. Floyd Mayweather has made hundreds of millions of dollars. How can Floyd Mayweather be broke?" Boy, I've seen this boy spend so much money. I seen this boy shopping in the mall when at 2:00 in the morning when nobody's there, right? I seen a garage full of cars, right? People don't understand when you spend more than what you're bringing in, that's a problem. That's a problem. I don't care how much money you're making. If you're spending more than what you're bringing in, you're gonna go broke. Oh, I made some smart investments. What investments, right? I've been thinking that for a while. Where are these investments that you're talking about, Floyd? Right? You keep saying, "Oh, I make some smart investments." Hey, boy, we ain't seen your name on no list of making no investments, right? We ain't seen nothing. They got Forbes and stuff like that. Forbes ain't put you on a cover yet. They ain't put you inside of a page yet. Not for no investments, right? They might say you made a lot of money from boxing, but they ain't say you made a lot of money from anything else, right? And then you're supposed to have been to bought all these apartments and buildings and stuff in New York. And I knew when he said he bought these buildings, I said, "Oh, he lying. He lying. Ain't no way he'd have bought all these buildings." And he looked like a fool. He looked like a fool, man. You out here saying that you bought all these things and people got proof. They got proof. You ain't buy nothing. They said you came to New York, bought a piece of pizza, and you left. took some pictures of some buildings and said you bought them. That's a damn shame, Floyd. That's a damn shame. So hopefully Floyd recovers, because I don't want to see no brother like that, with that type of money and that type of power go broke. Keep that wealth, brother, but do the right thing with it next time. All right, y'all. I think I'm gonna finish it with that right there. I think I'm gonna close out this first little edition with that. I don't want to, overstay my welcome. It's my first time talking alone, so I don't want to overdo it. If you guys like it, let me know you like it. If you don't like it, let me know you like it. But just say, hey, Eric, make sure you get your guys back up there next time. Don't break my heart. I'm out. Peace.